Iveco S-Way is equipped with a maneuvering mode that aids the driver in steering the vehicle and semi-trailer accurately when docking and navigating other tight spaces. To activate this mode, hold down the D for drive or R for reverse button for longer than 2 seconds. The maneuvering mode gives the driver more control of the vehicle and prevents jerking movement by limiting the engine revolutions per minute or RPM. On vehicles with air suspension, we have the ECAS, the electronically controlled air suspension system, which allows the driver to lower or raise the ride height of the S-Way. This can be very useful when hooking up a semi-trailer. The S-Way can be lowered to ensure that the fifth wheel is low enough to slide under the sliding plate of the semi-trailer. It is good practice to raise the suspension until the landing legs are free. This way, the driver can avoid straining the landing legs during hookup. The driver can then push back until the fifth wheel locks onto the kingpin on the semi-trailer without damaging the landing legs. This is especially helpful when space limitations prevent the driver from perfectly lining up the horse and trailer. The driver should then climb out and check that the fifth wheel is properly engaged. Once the semi-trailer is securely hooked, its landing legs can be rolled up and locked in place. Trailer coupling can then be completed by connecting hoses and checking lights. At this point, the S-Way will display a warning on the dashboard about the incorrect riding height for the attached trailer. Simply press the button on the dashboard and the ECAS system will automatically adjust the suspension to the correct riding height. The warning will then disappear. Then, select Drive on the dashboard to activate automatic mode. The S-Way takes charge by automatically selecting the optimal gear based on the trailer weight. When the brake pedal is released fully, the anti-rollback hill holder maintains pressure for approximately 2 seconds, allowing the driver to press the accelerator pedal and drive off without rolling backwards. The tachometer in the dashboard display shows the rotational speed of the engine in RPM. The area between 1000 and 1500 RPM is marked green and is the engine's optimal and most efficient speed range. The driver should try to maintain this engine speed range when accelerating and cruising. The green band does not apply when the driver is not accelerating, such as when using the eco-roll feature or slowing down. Brakes slow down a vehicle by turning its kinetic energy into heat and then releasing that heat into the air. In addition to traditional friction-based service brakes, the S-Way is equipped with a powerful engine brake and an intarder, collectively referred to as the auxiliary brakes. These two brake systems are referred to as wear-free braking and should be used as much as possible to slow the S-Way down instead of the service brakes. This significantly reduces operating costs. The engine brake and intarder use airflow through the radiator and circulation of the engine coolant fluids to release heat into the air. This is why it is crucial to engage a gear that maximizes engine RPM when applying the engine brake and intarder. In automatic mode, the gearbox anticipates downshifting to increase the engine RPM, ultimately enhancing braking efficiency. The auxiliary brakes, which have 6 stages, are activated using the stalk on the right-hand side of the steering wheel. A good and attentive driver will generally apply the auxiliary brakes progressively. When the stalk is at position 0, the engine brake is disabled. At position 1, the engine brake is at 50%. At position 2, the engine brake is at 100% and the intarder is at 20%. At position 3, the intarder is at 40%. At position 4, the intarder is at 60%. At position 5, the intarder is at 80%. At position 6, the intarder is at 100%. The S-Way is equipped with automatic and semi modes, which you can switch between by simply pushing the D button on the dashboard. Always make use of the automatic mode in built-up areas so you can concentrate on the traffic around you for safety. Use semi mode to control the vehicle in difficult driving conditions such as hilly and off-road terrain and to prevent unexpected gear changes. Semi mode allows you to change gears up or down 1 or 2 gears at a time only. It is not possible to shift more than 2 gears at a time. It is advisable to assess your engine status through your dash instruments every 5 to 10 seconds, as well as the surrounding traffic in your mirrors. The S-Way is equipped with cruise control, adaptive cruise control, lane departure warning, and an advanced emergency braking system. Cruise control keeps the required speed constant and can also cause the vehicle to brake when necessary. This function can be used with a minimum speed of 30 km per hour up to the maximum legal speed on long, dry, and straight sections of road and with minimal gear change. Cruise control should not be used on busy, extra-urban roads and in city traffic. The overrun setting allows the S-Way to conserve momentum and improve fuel efficiency on downhill slopes. For example, if cruise control is set at 75 km per hour with a 5 km per hour overrun, then the vehicle will autonomously accelerate to reach and maintain a speed of 75 km per hour. But on downward slopes, the retarder will not be activated immediately at 75 km per hour. Instead, the system will allow the vehicle to gain speed under gravity and only intervene to prevent the vehicle from exceeding 80 km per hour. Instead of using cruise control on long or steep inclines, it is often better to keep the vehicle in higher gear while losing some speed than to push the engine to maintain speed. This is when you should use semi-mode to hold and shift gears. Adaptive Cruise Control, or ACC, is an electronically controlled driver assistance system that combines the functionalities of cruise control with a distance control function from the vehicle in front. The ACC uses a radar sensor installed in the center of the front bumper to detect presence of a vehicle in front. The eco-roll function contributes to reducing fuel consumption by putting the transmission in neutral while keeping the gearbox in auto mode to conserve momentum as much as possible on moderate slopes. Eco-roll is only activated if the Hitronics gearbox is in auto mode, but it works independently from cruise control. Eco-roll is automatically deactivated if vehicle speed falls below the speed defined by the cruise control settings, exceeds the maximum speed defined by the cruise control settings with a positive gap, or the gearbox output speed exceeds 1,950 RPM. The motion conditions that determine eco-roll engagement are defined by Iveco during the manufacturing process and cannot be modified. They take into consideration the following parameters: the slope and radius of curvature of the road, vehicle acceleration, engine torque, and the gear engaged before activating eco-roll. If the conditions necessary for eco-roll cease to exist, the eco-roll function is disabled, and the most suitable gear is then recalculated for the current driving conditions and the gear engaged. The driver is made aware of gear engagement by the display showing the engaged gear instead of the letter E. The same effect occurs if the driver activates the retarder, the engine brake, or the service brake, depresses the accelerator, changes gears using the right lever on the steering wheel, presses the D button on the dashboard, or exits auto mode, and when cruise control is deactivated. The Eco Switch function helps reduce fuel consumption by optimizing gear changes and vehicle performance depending on the load. This function allows the vehicle to skip gears more frequently, resulting in gradual and smooth acceleration. The Eco Switch can be found below the storage compartment in front of the passenger seat and is activated using a key. Eco Switch will typically set vehicle speed at either cruise control or ACC at 5 km per hour lower than the absolute maximum. This gap can be set differently in an authorized Iveco workshop. Eco Switch is particularly effective in operations that have a significant trip with low tonnage or empty return trips. The lane departure warning system is particularly useful when driver fatigue kicks in. It warns of the S-Way deviating from the lane and crossing the carriageway markings. The system uses the camera sensor located in the middle of the dashboard behind the windscreen to calculate the position of the vehicle relative to the horizontal road markings. It is recommended that the lane departure warning system be used when traveling on highways. The lane departure warning system recognizes intentional lane changes by monitoring the use of the turn indicators. The Advanced Emergency Braking System, or AEBS, is a driving assistance system that automatically recognizes a potential front collision. The system warns the driver with 2 warning levels and activates the vehicle's service brakes. The aim is to prevent or reduce the effects of a collision if the driver does not react to the warnings in time. The system warns the driver and slows the vehicle as much as possible if the driver does not press the brake pedal before and during the warnings, or the driver does not press the brake pedal sufficiently before or during system activation. The system receives measurement data from radar installed in the middle of the front bumper. We welcome you to the Iveco family and hope you have found this training video helpful. We have a dealer network across the country to answer any questions you may have and further help with training.